All right, all right. Hey, everybody. Okay, so listen, here's the deal. First of all, thanks everybody for being here with me. I love you guys. I missed you in some ways. Last week, we had a lot of people here for a conference, had a fantastic time. We put out 6 videos live streamed. We did music. It was back and forth through all sorts of curveballs at Seth, and he is still with me this week. So praise God he didn't quit. Now, what I wanted to tell you is I'm on a short window today, this morning. Well, right now, meaning I have to leave in about 27 minutes, but then I'm coming back. But I have to be, 2 of my granddaughters have a piano recital today, and I'm the grandpa that has missed so many things because I've been in Israel or Jordan and I'm running the countryside. And my granddaughter told me about this a month ago, and she said, please, Saba, you have to be there. And I said, you need to tell your people to quit scheduling on Saturdays. And she laughed, but I've got to be there. So here's the plan. We're going to do this for at 12:25. I had to be running to the vehicle. And then the plan is, God willing, I really want to come back and go live again on Zoom at around 3:30 is what I think it's going to be. But at 3:30. So if let's get into this, and then I'll let you know, and you all watch your watch too, because if I miss this, I'm in bad trouble. Joshua Chisholm, hey brother,
Good morning. Can you
how's
hear
it
me
going?
okay?
How's it going? I can hear you fine.
Doing good. Man, I love the class this morning. I was talking to my little brothers this morning about diet and health stuff. And when I saw the title of the class, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Let's stir the pot a little bit. So this is funny. I was thinking this morning about the fact that I never challenge you. Like I never criticize, and I never do that. And you mentioned that at the end of the class. And I was like, oh, well, now I can't talk about it.
Yeah,
But,
sure
you
you
know,
can. Sure you can.
well,
I take criticism well.
Well, I just want to tell you that I'm sorry I'm not a better friend for not criticizing your ideas because I know that you would like you invite criticism and talking about the ideas, but the reason for that is that when I read the Bible, I find myself thinking about all the same things you talk about. And I think that your study this morning is the best type of way for everybody to begin to challenge themselves on what they know or what they're convicted of about what they believe.
I appreciate that, Josh, and I know you know that criticism is welcome. And believe me, just because you don't doesn't mean I don't get it. I get it from other people, so please know that. But what I will say is this: I have a very particular view of what I think God wants me to eat, and and I do that diet, and my diet has changed. But here's the deal: I also know some very wonderful, God fearing people who use Bible verses to justify their diet, and it's different than mine. So that's the main thing I wanted to bring out in this, and to kind of encourage people to step off of the high horse, the podium, and look at their brother and sister and say, hey, you know, maybe they're not, so different than me. They're trying to find their way. So
Sure.
I thank you for that, Joshua.
No, it's my pleasure, and I feel the same way. That I use the Bible to inform the things that I eat, and of course, as Bible believing people, we use the biblical text to inform our understanding and the things that we do in our lives.
Yeah.
So, I personally have a very strict idea of what I think we should be eating, and the diet that I follow also. So, but maybe the idea is that this should be informing our dietary decisions and certainly not judging each other from a sense of spiritual uncleanliness.
I'm with you. I tell you what, man, I always appreciate you. I missed you and Ruth. I wish you could have been here, but I understand. And listen, you've got to come see the place. It's totally redone, and you're not going to believe it. And as soon as you walk into this place, on the left-hand side, you're going to see the wood engraved 10 words that you and Ruth gave me. And every day of my life, I hold this bookmark, leather with my name embossed, that you guys gave me. So I love you guys, and I look forward to seeing you when you can get in your vehicle and come see us.
I look forward to it too, man. I'll see you soon.
All right. Speaking of love, I love you, James. Where you been, man? Hadn't seen you in a few days.
You talking to me?
Yeah, man.
You talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me lower my hand here. I guess it doesn't matter, but two things. One, Ross and I have talked for years now, going back, I don't know how many years. We count our lives by decades now, so three.
Yeah.
Um, of how Paul's letters, when it comes to dealing with people, are so incredibly useful. So, you know, the old baby with the bathwater thing that we always talk about. And Romans 14, if he's talking about the seventh day Sabbath, then fine. You know, do away with the law and all that. It's not so clear though. But if he's talking about the things that all of the groups deal with, Jewish, B'nai Noach, Hebraic Christians, Ebionites, Ephraimites, what are they? Days, months, seasons, years, touch not, taste not, handle not, right? So you think of passages in Galatians, passages in Colossians, and particularly Romans 14. So I was sitting here listening and I thought, he's going to go to Romans 14. I was just waiting, and he did. Read it with that in mind, and you'll realize we call it pastoral, but you know, that's what kind of word is that? Let's just call it sensible and care-filled dealings with fellow sincere human beings. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a mouthful. Sensible and care-filled dealings with fellow human beings that are seeking the way, right?
Yeah.
Romans 14 is it, you know. Now, Paul clearly is on the wrong side of that, according to my practices, but not really. Ross kind of got me on the drinking wine there. He goes, "Okay, Tabor, you know, you want to follow
I
James?
didn't call names.
Go for it. Go for it." I know he had me in mind. I'm positive. Uh, so, uh, so I want to make that point. The other point is exegetical. I'm sitting here looking at my Greek New Testament, Mark chapter 7. Let's see. I am at verse cleansing all foods. I forgot what verse it is. There it is. Verse 19, end of verse 19. Not only is that statement parenthetical, all the translations put, thus he declared all foods clean. Now you think, does the Greek say that? Are the translators adding that? And the answer is complicated because cleansing all foods is in the Greek, but thus he declared is not. You follow?
Yeah.
So what the Greek really says is it enters your mouth and then goes out into the toilet, cleansing all food. No, thus he declared. So I did a video, I put it in the chat if you want to watch it. It's short, that it's toilet humor.
Yeah.
Jesus is toilet humor. Now, the reason I thought of this is in the Tosefta, which are early traditions of Jesus, we have two sayings of Yeshua ben Pantera that we think is what they're referring to Jesus as from Sepphoris,
Mm.
which is just 3.5 miles north of the little village of Nazareth. So and the Tosefta is some of the earliest collection. And one of the main rabbis of the time says, I heard a saying from Yeshua ben Pantera, Jesus, son of Pantera. Don't worry about the Pantera. We know it's Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
And I really liked what he said. And they said, well, what was the saying? He said, well, the question came up among the rabbis that if a prostitute wants to tithe her wages to the temple, you know, bring it to the priest. But she made it by, you know, the
Whatever.
oldest profession in the world. what should we do? The money's tainted. And Yeshua said, I'd build toilets with it if I were you.
There you go.
And this rabbi smiled and nodded his head and he said, I like that. That is a smart saying. There's another one too. I won't, but that's the toilet one. That made me decide years ago. I think I put it in some of my books that Mark 7 is toilet humor. You see what he's really
Mm-hmm.
saying? Ross did it today.
Yeah.
You're all worried. What goes in? What goes in? What do you eat? What do you know what? Every time you flush the toilet, that is solved.
There you
Now,
go.
you could talk about health, you could talk about everything else, but he's just trying to say, not that health doesn't matter, not that diet doesn't matter, not that food doesn't matter. I mean, there are all kinds of health things as well as what the Bible might or might not say. But just compared to an evil heart or somebody thinking they're so righteous because of any of these ideas. I mean, Ross already made the point. What I'm saying is Jesus agreed with Ross
Yeah.
in that saying, and he added a little twist to it. So that could be right, that could be wrong, but I think it makes sense. So why do translators do this? Well, I don't know about you, but I've crossed it out in my English Bible.
Yep.
And just cleansing all things. It's a participle. Passes into the toilet, cleansing all things. Ha ha.
Mm-hmm.
Problem solved. Okay, thanks.
Hey, thanks, James. I appreciate it. Look, and just to kind of underscore that, I want people to know that when I was semi-quoting Jesus, the whole point of that is to make the point he did. Of course, it matters what goes in the mouth. Yes, you can't eat unhealthy food and live a godly life, whichever diet you follow, right? So I encourage healthy eating and exercise and all of those things. I mean, the older I get, the more focused I become on this. I remember eating very poorly as a young man, and it didn't seem to affect me. Like I could eat whatever I wanted, but now I'm very cautious. So please don't misunderstand. I want you to eat healthy no matter which diet you follow. Karen, welcome. It seems like forever. How are you, my friend?
Good. I
How's
know.
it?
I haven't been on here in a while.
That's okay. Welcome. Welcome.
So in the beginning of your talk, you were mentioned is some people view what you put in your body as making you holy or profane.
Yeah.
And I think, people that view their bodies as a temple, can look at it that way.
Sure.
But I view it more as a tool, not necessarily a temple. And if you're going to use your tool in a way it was not intended to be used, and you're going to break it
Yeah.
and become useless. But if you use it, how it's supposed to be, and you keep it sharp and you keep it tempered and hard and strong, then you'll be, the creator or whoever, you can use that tool more effectively.
Yeah.
And that's, how I view diet, not necessarily as holy or profane, but more as what's going to make your tool stronger
Yeah.
or break it.
And I would agree with that. At one point that I would say to kind of applaud that, what you just said, and just so people don't misunderstand the way I was presenting it, is a person can, let's say that if Jehovah voted on which diet is the best, and let's say he said, I really prefer that Eden diet, and that's where it's all going. And anybody who, that's where I'm really intending. If someone who was wicked in other ways adopted that diet, the diet in and of itself, my point, doesn't make that person a holy, righteous individual. But I would say this, I think that people seeking to live a life of holiness and righteousness should, maybe as Joshua says it, inspire our diets by these texts, I guess is the best way to think about it.
Mhm. And then also, when you're looking at the story of Joseph,
Mm-hmm.
always wonder if, things change because when the brothers first come, the Egyptians don't want to sit with them because they're shepherds.
Yeah.
There's like some kind of dietary or some reason that they are keeping themselves separate. But then when they leave Egypt, how have things changed?
Right. Well, it could be that the shepherds have just been out sweating and they stink. Maybe they didn't want to be around them, because they smelt badly. I don't know.
There in the story. And then one more last thing I was going to say when and just maybe something to think about. When I look at the Genesis story, and there's these two naked, three, I should say, three naked beings in the garden having a conversation talking about uh trees and fruit. And I have to ask myself, are we really talking about food here?
Yeah.
Or is this an allegory, and are we talking about something else?
Mm. Well, some people say that is what's going on there, that it is allegorical for, the age of reason and, an awareness, and eyes are open and they have all sorts of other ideas about it. So you're not the first, and I understand where you're going with it. I certainly have considered different views as well. And by the way, is it really a serpent? Is Nakash, is that best translated as serpent? We can get into, is that really the idea of a shining enchanter? I know those of you who followed James for a while may have heard some of this as well. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things to think about.
And even today, if you say to that somebody has partaken of the forbidden fruit, that doesn't mean they're eating something that means they've done something that's taboo. They've done
Yeah.
something they're supposed to do.
Yep, that's right. Interesting stuff, Karen. It is good to have you back. Good to see you, and I'm glad that you're back with us, and look forward to maybe if you really have nothing going on later this afternoon, when I come back on, maybe you'll still have some free time. I don't know. We'll see.
Sorry.
All right, Karen. Good
My
deal.
daughter's background's different.
Okay, I got you. All
Shabbat
right.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Have a great day. Clody, Shabbat shalom, my
Uh,
sister. How are you?
Shabbat shalom. I overslept today. Sorry, I caught you after half an hour.
Oh my, that's okay. But you're 2 hours earlier, so that's asking you to
Yes,
get
I
up
am.
early on Shabbat. All
Yeah,
right.
no, I've never done that like as a job. It happened involuntarily. So thank you for the class. I wrote two questions. One of those, Dr. James Tabor, he referred to it, so I don't need an answer, because it was, what do parentheses mean in the Bible?
Okay.
And I understand that it's a long story, so let's leave it. The other one is also a long story. What other sources do we have for James's diet? Because you had some kind of parenthesis on your talk.
For James, the brother of Jesus, his diet.
Yes. Yes.
I tell you, I have a lot on that, and I've become friends with Cam Waters and Aaron Abke. You and I have discussed this, Clody, offline a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And these young guys are very much in the Jesus camp, but, aiming towards a historical Jesus. And some of that involves this Hebraic understanding, the Ebionites, the Nazarenes, and so forth. Well, when James mentions we go back decades now, some of that material is something that I was very well versed on at the time, early on, largely influenced by James and others. But I'm, because of my association now with Cam on not just that subject, but the Moses Scroll and others, I'm beginning to look back at some of that material. And, I know some of you have probably read the works of Robert Eisenman. Eisenman wrote a book years ago on James, and it's 1,000 some odd pages. Very few people have actually read it. Maybe in this group it's got a pretty good record, but But anyway, I read through that years ago, and he has, I would argue that he probably has most of the sources. We
Mm-hmm.
happen to have, with Todd and Angel in the group, they've done a lot of research on this as well. But when we talk about, some of the early writings among church fathers, or, stuff like that, or even the pseudo-Clementine literature and so forth, we get an expanded picture. But even in the New Testament text, we tend to have some evidence of a tension between James and Paul. I
Yeah.
didn't really, like in Romans 14, I think it's in Romans 14 where it kind of kicks it off with, those weak people that eat only vegetables. Well, if there is a tension between James and Paul, this could be kind of a dig at those vegan, vegetarian folks kind of thing. But anyway, there's actually quite a bit of evidence that this reflects a very widespread movement within that let's just say early messianic movement, as Eisenman would say, in Palestine. At in the Second Temple period. Now, just for those who are interested, I feel that I'm probably going to be getting into some of that material more frequently than I ever really dreamed. I never sat down and said, I think I'm going to get back into some of that. But what's happened to me personally over the last couple of years is when I lost the idea that the Tanakh is in every way, letter for letter, word for word,
Yes.
it made me then think, well, now hang on. I took the Christian writings and put them on a shelf and never really looked back because of that same thing. But I love the Hebrew Bible. I base and derive my faith off of that. So now I say, well, let's look at all of this ancient literature and let's consider what can we pull from that. It's like Jeremiah 15, pull the precious from the profane. What is it that's pure in the long run?
Yeah.
Don't know
Can
if that
I?
was very helpful. Yes, fire
Yeah,
off.
no, I can understand that, and I even researched the Eisenman book, James, the brother of Jesus. So
Yep.
that was, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. Now, I know better now after so many years of listening to you that when you finish the classes, sometimes you're right on point and sincere, and sometimes you're provocative. So
Yeah.
I figured that this time it was provocative, because I do not agree with what you said.
Well, say the part you don't agree with, and let's see if we're really closer than you think.
Yeah, I don't agree with the fact that what enters, how you cite it, what you read from the New Testament. I don't agree that what enters the body does not matter.
I
think
didn't say matter. I didn't say matter. I'm talking about spiritual defilement.
Yeah,
Let's
or
say
spiritual. Let's say that I do
Yeah.
not agree even with that. I believe that food is a very important factor to whatever the brain receives.
Yeah,
Let's say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I read some researches, and I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, some weeks ago, that there have been a research in prisons that the amount of food and the quality of food makes people more aggressive or not.
Yep.
Also, there is a research. I remember, actually, I saw it in the movie Christspiracy.
Yep.
That the most happy man on earth, as far as people know, is a vegetarian person. And also, I think I touched a little bit on this also, that there are some animals that they are herbivores, but if you give them flesh, they can start to acquire a taste for flesh, for meat.
let me jump in just for time. Hang on, Clody. Let me
Mhm.
let me say this. So we're not as far apart as you think. If people
Yeah.
hear what I said and they think that I'm saying exactly the way you put it, let me qualify just very quickly. I believe that food can
Mhm.
go a long way towards all those things that you say, but here's my point, and it was Jesus's point to a group of very judgmental people, that if you think that by eating a certain food that in and of itself can either defile a person or the opposite, I think you're wrong. And this is the way I was trying to say it. So for instance, you Hitler was a vegetarian.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
understand what you're saying. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's my point. And so and you could think of evil people that ate steak 5 times a day. So I'm just saying that diet in and of itself, what goes into the mouth does not necessarily bring forth this wonderful person.
Yeah,
Nor,
yeah.
you know,
No,
that's the only thing
I
that I was trying to
understand.
say. Gotcha.
You cannot exclude believe that if you are a vegetarian, you're saved because you're a vegetarian. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, gotcha.
You have
Gotcha.
to you have to keep the whole packet of the being a godly person. I understand that.
Gotcha.
However, what I was trying to make a picture of what the earthly paradise would look like. I think that uh, apart from the Shabbat, I believe that that is what we need to be a little bit more conscious
Yeah.
about. If we start being more herbivores, not so much carnivores as we are, and they have made research at least for the pork. If people eat pork, then they have nightmares during the night.
Yeah.
So if we do the bad, I mean the scientists do the research, then I believe that we will understand that we have to be more herbivores, like in Eden.
Yep.
For God's sake, I was frying salmon as I was thinking about these things yesterday. Don't get me wrong.
I understand.
I'm still a carnivore, but I believe that a plant-based diet is will make our body, which is in function of our thoughts and our feelings, as Karen was saying, will make us a little bit more ready for the wholeness, for the holiness.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I wanted to say. Thank
Good,
you. This was really
good
really
stuff.
long.
Now, Belinda, I see your hand, but I also see the clock. Here's what I want to do. If there is any way, because some of you have stuff to do, you might not be willing or able to come back and join me, but I've got to leave, and I will be back. Well, God willing, I don't know what time I'll be back, but I think, according to Bridget, everything should be done in an hour or so, and I hope to be back in this chair no later than 3 or 3:30 p.m. Central Time. So I'm going to come back on a Zoom call, same link. If you're in the Yachad, you'll have the Zoom link, because I know we have some makeup time. I've been missing you guys. I want to have some good time with you. If you're able, please join me at 3:30 p.m. And look, if it's 3:35, it's not because I forgot. I didn't dog it off. I want to do it. So 3:30 p.m., meet me back in the Zoom if you can, because we can take this. And Belinda, if you and Glenn can join us, by the way, it was great seeing you. If you can join us, you just come in with your hand waving, and I'll call on you first. Is that fair? I got to go. All right. I'll be back. Take care, everybody.